All right. Well, today on the Button Up Podcast, we have Carl Murawski from formerly New England Style Consulting, but we want to hear that story today. Carl, how are you?
Hey guys, how's it going?
Excellent. So we like to know a little bit about your background. I think people know if they follow your channel, you're from New England, but start out with some of the early days of Carl Murawski.
My background's probably a lot different than most people because I started out in a blue collar world. So the Reader's Digest version is right when I was a junior in high school. I got accepted to my first choice college, and that was right around the time that my parents split up. My father was the breadwinner. He owned his own print shop and was doing very, very well. So my mother worked part time as a hairdresser. And when they split, I mean, he altogether basically disappeared in financial ways and everything else. So it was just my mom trying to figure out what she was going to do for a full time job to support two kids. One who was looking to go to college, and eventually we had the hard conversation of, look, we're just not going to be able to afford college for you. And since she was a hairdresser, she really didn't have, she wasn't educated on different ways to get loans and all the opportunities that are available for people who can't afford it, yet may have the grades and the ability to do well. So it was just a really angsty, angry, late teen, early 20s young man. So I turned to the only thing that I liked, which was working on cars and motorcycles and stuff. So I got a job at like a local auto mechanic, and I worked there. I wasn't really happy in my work, but I made money, and it was something to do, and I could take my aggressions out, and that was good. But um, actually, the guy who took care of the finances, our CFO, must have seen something in me because he sort of took me under his wing and said, "Listen, you're clearly not cut out for this stuff. You want more. I know you want more." We had a few conversations. And this guy, he wasn't married. He didn't have any kids of his own. And he sort of liked to take on pet projects. So I guess I was one of those. And through hanging out with him and getting to know him, he actually brought me to get my first bespoke suit. I didn't have any suit to that point at all. My idea of dressing up was a good pair of Levi's and a Dickies shirt. That was dressed up for me. So but I believed in him. He really had shown me the right path, got me enrolled in a local state school and stuff. So I had all the confidence in the world with him. So when I went to get that first suit made, I was just kind of psyched because it was something new. And I remember very vividly the first time I put that on after my second fitting, and it was all done. And it was like this transformative, like it was amazing, the difference that I felt. So I felt like a completely different person. So that was the spark that ignited the fire. And so after that, I had actually transitioned to construction to get down like a little bit more of a clear path, and was going to school at night. And I started, trying to figure out a way that I could get other guys to feel the same thing that I felt when I wore a suit or started getting into dressing well. And just the way you feel when you look put together. So I began doing in-person consulting, mostly with my friends at that point. And it was, you just ask your most stylish friend what they think you should wear. So I'd take my friends to the mall and we would go pick out a few outfits, try to figure out what they had for a budget, work within that budget. I ended up getting a few people who were very happy to just pay me to show them what they should be wearing and give me a certain amount and buy it for them. So it became consulting and almost like a personal buyer in a way, which was cool. But I really wasn't sure exactly where my path was leading me. And at this point, I was working in construction as an electrician. I was doing the consulting on the side, making pretty good money. And I had a dog who was he was a rescue dog. He was a really, really high energy dog. I needed to exercise him twice a day. And when he was 10, his health went downhill really quickly, and I ended up having to put him down, and that left a huge void in my life. So it sounds silly because it's just a dog, right? But I wasn't married, I didn't have any kids. That was my kid. My dog was like my life. So when he died was when I first said to myself, man, maybe I'll go down and check out StyleCon and just meet some other people. And so I did. And I went down there and came back super inspired and like ready to go. And decided I was going to start making videos. And I remember when I first put up my camera, just staring at it, thinking like, I don't even know what I'm going to do, what I'm going to say, being so scared that people would, judge me or think I was a complete dope or totally disagree. And you see how nasty people can be in the comments. But I got over it and put out my first video, and really didn't start getting too serious about it until 2016. Up to that point, I think I may have put out a total of 8 videos. I wasn't really sure about a direction. But that kind of brings us to the present day, where things have started to, the ball has started to roll. The inertia is behind it. And now I'm just trying to figure out where it's going.
Wow. So you were one of the guys that goes to StyleCon just saying like, I've got this idea for a thing, and then you come home and you really put what you learned into action?
Yeah. It was the follow through. A lot of people, they come up with good ideas and they have the best intentions, but it's the follow through that's the hard part. And that was kind of one of the things that the guy who had taken me to get that suit taught me was, if you have confidence and you can follow through, you'll be ahead of 99% of the people in no matter what you're doing, whether it's in your job or anything like that. So yes, that was the aha moment, was down at StyleCon and talking to people and thinking, man, I could really see myself hanging around people like this and doing this full time someday. And I'm not sure I'll ever get there, but I'm really enjoying the journey.
So when you first started making videos, did you have like a certain, I guess, any channels that you saw that were doing it right that you kind of wanted to emulate, or did you have an idea of how you would do something differently, I guess, from what was already out there?
Yeah, the idea was that's at this point I had subscribed to basically every single men's style channel I could find and their email lists. So I would get emails from basically the same guys on the same exact product. And it would be some Kickstarter campaign or maybe some product, I don't know, whatever it was. And I started realizing that the more and more I poked around online, the less genuine these videos were becoming. I was watching third-party advertising. And now that's not to say that's true across the board. There are plenty of guys out there who are doing legitimate reviews, and they're actually giving you the straight deal on what they're talking about. But there are a disproportionate amount of guys who are just looking to make a buck, and they're being paid, or in product or monetarily, and they're just kind of showing you the best parts of it and painting it in the best light. So what I really wanted to do was give a real review of something, not just what was stipulated in the contract with whatever company it was. And I wanted to do that. So it was this whole no BS kind of approach where, listen, if the product sucks, then that's fine, because I have a full-time job. I'm not relying on you to pay me. I'm just going to tell you exactly what I think. And I don't like to go at it with a negative attitude like that. I have done some negative reviews in the past, and I really don't like that feeling. I'd rather be positive. But that was what I started basing everything around, was I'm going to be as honest as I can and tell you the truth. And if you like it or if you agree, then that's fine. But that was the cornerstone.
Yeah, I agree that is absolutely the type of voice that is needed right now more than ever. And I think people can sense that and, appreciate it. So when you first started, you did have some sort of goal to eventually monetize, though, or do this as a business, or was it 100% hobby?
No, it was a total passion project. And it still is. I mean, right now, I don't see much as far as returns go. It's definitely, I'm way more in the hole than I've made any kind of profit. It's a passion project. It's a hobby, but I enjoy it immensely. And trying to figure out how to monetize it without having to resort to sponsored content from a brand I don't believe in, or trying to rely on Patreon or any of these other things. I really don't know. I don't know what that looks like right now. I have an idea. I think that maybe at some point, because I like to focus on smaller brands who are really relying on quality, I have an idea of maybe putting together some sort of an online boutique where I can feature a lot of these smaller brands who can't get put into a Nordstrom, and people can't find their products, and keeping all those together in a nicely curated place. But I have no idea how to do that, and I have to seek out the right people for guidance on how to even start implementing something like that.
Yeah, that's a big question. How to monetize basically, a media company, a digital media brand. without doing too many sponsorships or any sponsorships? That's a tough question. I mean, obviously there are channels that are doing it, and there are websites that are doing it, but I think it is a much different business model. But yeah, definitely honorable, and I think we do need more unbiased kind of straight up reviews out there. When you first started, did you have any idea like how to produce a video? I mean, did you have any background in that?
A little, but more importantly, my best friend, he makes documentaries for a living. So I had a tremendous resource that I could call upon anytime I had a question. And he was the one who really got me started. So the first videos I ever did were with a GoPro. That was the only thing that I had. And then little by little, he would kind of critique me and say, all right, your lighting is really, really harsh. You have to diffuse that. And one of the things that he told me, which I'll tell anybody who asks, especially guys who are just starting out on YouTube, audio is first. You have to have the audio on point, because people will watch a video and it can be the most visually dazzling thing, but if they can't hear you, they'll tune out. And a lot of people will watch a video and they won't necessarily watch it as much as they'll put it in the background while they're doing something else. So if your audio isn't, absolutely as good as it can be, which is pretty affordable to do, really, then the rest is just going to fall apart really quickly. And that's something, maybe the most important thing that he taught me.
Yeah, that's so true. I did a video last week thing, and my mic had cut out, and so was the camera mic, and I was like, I don't want to put this up, but like, I'm just gonna do it anyway. And it feels so bad to put out bad audio, but yeah, I agree. If you can invest in any gear, you got to invest in a good mic.
Yeah, and you can do it pretty cheaply. You can get into a good audio setup for around $100, which is, in the world of pro audio and video, that's a bargain. But moving back a little bit, one of the things I always liked about before, even when I was reading your blog, before you started making videos, Brock, was the fact that you would show quarterly earnings, and it really made it tangible how difficult it is to make a living off of this stuff. I used to love reading those updates that you would do.
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, I kind of stopped doing those. I think at the beginning of last year, but yeah, that was. I like that because, and you see it a lot in other industries, like especially in kind of like the online business industry, people doing income reports. But yeah, it kind of shows people that, first of all, it is possible to make money, but also how it works. Because I think a lot of people, you go to a website or you go to a YouTube channel and you're like, okay, are these people making money? Like, is money changing hands? Are they being paid? And I don't know about you guys, but like whenever I tell somebody what I do, they always ask, you can make money like that? Or like, how do you make money? So it seems like almost everybody is kind of, I don't know, intrigued by it.
Yeah, but there's a new stereotype, which is, oh, you're one of those YouTube online millionaires, because everybody thinks, oh, all these people are making videos and making a ton of cash, and what they don't realize is, the return. There are so many other ways. You could do almost anything and put in the same amount of hours and make more. You have to have a passion for it, and you have to enjoy it first and foremost. Otherwise, if you want to look to make money, there are much, much more effective ways to do that.
Oh yeah, especially quickly. Like if you start like a new brand or YouTube channel, website, like you better be in it for the long haul, because it's going to take a while to start making any real money.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Now, Carl, I had wondered too, because I follow your Instagram story, and you seem to get stuff from B&H all the time, and I'm like, man, I want to get some stuff from B&H. So that's like you taking the stance, like you're personally investing in.
Well, the total money that I've made through AdSense maybe could have bought one of my lenses. The camera gear that I've bought, there's an old saying that really kind of goes back to my blue collar roots, and it's really the tools that you work with. The tools you work with every day, you have to make them the best possible. So if I'm a mechanic, I want to make sure that I have the best wrenches, the best everything, because that makes my job that much easier. And when I was an electrician, the same thing applied. And now that I really want to make a go at this and really do want to invest, because the better product that I can put out, because these videos, you know how it is, they live on forever. And if I'm at 500,000 subscribers years from now, and they look back and they see garbage, nobody's going to watch that. But if they're good quality now, then they still have watchability years in the future. So yeah, I did make the investment in, I like Canon. I know a lot of guys are into Sony and the new GH5 from Panasonic, but I like Canon. They just do they have a lot of what I like. So I ended up investing in one of their cinema line cameras, some of their L series professional lenses. And like I mentioned, I mean, my wife, God bless her, because she puts up with my B&H spending sprees pretty well. But I can understand when a little lens comes in and you say, you paid $1,600 for this, what does it do? It's hard to sell that sometimes.
Yeah, it's a rabbit hole, man. There's always something else too. Like I'm looking at all these stabilizers and gimbals. I'm like, those are pretty cool.
And the other thing is too, well, how much of a return am I going to get on this? Okay, yes, I'm using all the best stuff, and I think I know how to use it. Every time I try to use it, I try to improve a little bit. But is that going to equal more subscribers, or is that going to equal better engagement, or really result in that much of a better video? And so then you have to start looking on the return on investment. Is the kit lens just as good as this really expensive professional lens? You see guys like Casey Neistat who are making a go of it with an $800 camera and a $500 lens, and they're pushing 8 million subscribers. And it goes to show that really the most important thing is the content itself. Everything else it aids in telling the story, and oftentimes it's more of just being to tell your story easily, but it's about the content first and foremost. So getting stuck in that constant cycle of buying the latest and greatest and best gear, you could be shooting with an Arri Alexa and the absolute best stuff that money can buy, but if the content isn't good, nobody's going to watch.
Oh yeah, totally agree, man. It's all the money and all the gear in the world can't buy good content. That comes from you.
Right. And that's the hardest thing to get too. I wish it was that way, because then you could just buy views, but it's harder to develop yourself.
Right. So what have you learned about that over the last few years about the content and your presentation and you as a creator?
What I'm trying to do now is learn much more about storytelling. I want my videos to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. Now, it's really hard to do that with reviews because you're showcasing a particular product. But what I've tried to do sneaky is like bring in little elements of my own life. So in the beginning, it was a little sterile. It was me, and I'm talking about a product. The video is really about the product. There's very little of my own personal life in there. But over time, I've tried to bring this evolution of making it more about me, because people will watch. Now, you and I could put out the exact same video or about the exact same product, but we'll have two completely different takes on it. And the reason somebody will watch one or the other is because of the person. They really identify with you, or they like your approach, or they like the fact that you'll tell them exactly how it is, or whatever it is. So I'd like to have more of a story in the videos going forward. But as far as presentation goes, just being true to yourself, not trying to be anybody else. I mean, Aaron Marino is known for being so energetic, and you think of him and it's just like this ball of energy. Or then you look at somebody like Sven Raphael Schneider from the Gentleman's Gazette, and the way he talks is much more proper and much stiffer. And I remember when I asked him very early on for any kind of advice, one of the things he said is, make sure you write out a script. And I found that doesn't really work for me. That may work well for him, but most of the time what I'll do is just have bullet points, and then I'll just go off the cuff. And that's what I've learned over time, is that's how you get your personality out there. Otherwise, you're just reading. And while it may be put together and it has all the relevant information, you're missing maybe the most vital part, which is your personality. And that's why people are watching you as compared to any number of other style influencers on YouTube.
Yeah, that's great advice, because I think it is really hard it's hard not to kind of emulate somebody else when you first get started, especially because, first of all, that's what people are telling you. And also you've probably watched somebody else's channel, so it just kind of happens naturally. Like I remember talking to Aaron, very similar to your conversation with Raphael's, and he's like, the camera zaps your energy. So if you want to come across as a 10 in terms of energy levels, you got to be a 12, because it zaps you. And so for a while I tried to make videos where I was like super energetic and, basically trying to be like Aaron. And I was like, that's not me. I'm totally laid back and like super chill, So I kind of started making videos that were like felt more me. And I think, it's not for everybody, but it feels authentic. So I think that's really good advice.
I found myself trying to emulate Peter McKinnon's when he goes, "What's up, everybody?" Like I found myself doing that as I'm like walking outside. I'm like, "What's up, everybody?" Because I think it's a cool intro. And he did that with MKBHD, where he was like teaching him the pumping sound. And but yeah, I think that's. I looked at just the other day I looked at a video that I put up almost 3 years ago, and I was like, "Oh my god, I can't believe I sounded like that." And so I think as you find your voice, embracing it and like being conscious of it is so important.
Definitely. I love Peter McKinnon, though. I mean, there's a perfect example of somebody who's so relatable and seems like if you saw him, he would be just that guy, and you could just hang out and get a coffee with him or something. And that seems to be the shared the shared personality trait across a lot of these great guys. Is they're genuine, they're friendly, and when you turn it on, it's almost like a quasi friendship. John and I were talking earlier about how sometimes when you watch somebody's video, you feel like you know them. And this is actually the first time John and I have spoken in person or spoken, period. And we know each other just from trading office memes and stuff like that. But I feel like I know him already. And that's kind of like part of the allure of YouTube. People feel like they can tune into a particular person and they already know you. And they can tune in a couple times a week or whatever. And it's the same thing like calling up your buddy. Just, hey, what's going on? And it's a one-sided relationship because you're the viewer, but I think that's how it operates for a lot of people, and that's why there's such an attraction.
Carl, why are you the way that you are? No. So I'm totally on board with the things you're saying, and YouTube is definitely a grind. What really keeps you going then, as you're saying you're in the hole on some of this and some of the return on your time, but like in that first year when you had no subscribers, like what really kept you going in those early days?
I think knowing that I had to build up a body of work, knowing that anything worth doing is going to take a lot of legwork no matter what it is. And anything that you do, whether it's a business or getting a degree or even just grinding it out. During my apprenticeship as an electrician, there's a lot of thankless work that goes into it, and it's not a quick return. So I knew that going in, and that was that's kind of a key concept I always remember. But the other thing is I would get the occasional comment. Now it's great because I feel like every time I go and check, I have a new comment and somebody I can interact with, and that's really cool. Back in the day, if I had a comment, I was like shocked. I was like, "Whoa, wow, somebody commented. Let me see who it is." And sometimes you would get a really genuine comment. Somebody would say something like, "You really helped me make a purchase," or "I bought this thing and I absolutely love it and I would have never known," or whatever it is. You get these little tiny positive comments. And it's funny because that's fuel for like several videos. You can latch onto those, and it's like, man, I am helping that guy. I got to make sure that I impress Rob over in Tennessee because I know he's watching. That's kind of what helped, especially in the beginning.
Yeah, I had email subscriptions turned on with YouTube when I first started, of like every time I got a subscriber and a comment, and then I ended up turning them off after the first, I don't know, a couple of months. I was like, all right, it was cool for a while, but now I think that's a really cool tipping point.
Can you tell us a little bit about your channel's name change?
Yeah, the New England Style Consulting originally was just an extension of doing the in-person consulting. So I figured that what I was telling these people who could afford it, a lot of people probably needed to know who didn't have the money to shell out for a whole day with me. So I thought, all right, what a better way to kind of spread that as far as wide as I can than a YouTube channel. So that's why I named it New England Style Consulting. It was an extension of the in-person consulting. And over time, it became its own thing. I'm actually doing much less of the in-person thing. I have a few key clients, but much less of the in-person style consulting and making more videos. Now, again, the return doesn't really justify that shift, but I go after what I like, and that's how it is. So I really want to start branching out a little bit more, and I don't mean really getting away from style, but maybe expanding a little bit more. And recently, I've gotten in touch with several small brands and trying to do some tours of companies, factory tours. Recently, I went to American Woolen, which is in Connecticut, and this guy, he was an investment banker, and he bought the Loro Piani wool mill in Stafford Springs, and basically said, all right, well, I'm going to make a go of it. I know nothing about this stuff, but I'll learn. And now he's making some of the finest wool coming out of America. So just talking to that guy was so inspiring, and hearing his story was incredible. So it's starting to shift now. And I mean, I spent the full day and plus with Dan Trepanier of Articles of Style, trying to put together some content with him. And I came back with hours and hours of video footage, trying to edit it down into like a digestible bite. But now I'm spending time with these people who have done it. They're already there, and they all have a sort of a unique place that they've come from, and learning so much from them. It's not about style consulting anymore. I'm not talking about how you match patterns and colors and textures. It's becoming more a focus on these people who are doing great things, still within the world of fashion and style. But I'm not sure. Sometimes I feel like I'm just kind of following it. Maybe I'm not quite in the driver's seat, and I just sort of go after what looks interesting and is inspiring. But it's not so much about style consulting anymore. It's become something else, and maybe it's not in its final form yet. But I'm kind of just along for the ride, to be honest with you.
I love that idea. I watched that series, and I find myself watching that type of video on YouTube all the time. It's like behind the scenes, especially now with companies being so small and being founder-led. It's like you want to hear their stories, and I don't know if that's a personal bias or something, but the videos seem to do pretty well too, so I think that's a really cool direction for the channel.
Yeah, and there's a lot, too, that have come out since then. Different companies that have reached out. So I have several other ones planned, and if this becomes something that is is a desirable thing for smaller companies. Like I mentioned, a lot of these small companies, you think about it, if you start it and you don't have the big budget for marketing, yet my video can reach a few thousand people, and people who are in your key demographic, that's a huge thing. So I think that might be some of the appeal for some of these smaller brands. But I'm actually visiting a brand that makes their own jeans from start to scratch and has a lifetime warranty on them, which is cool. And so I'm going to be visiting them pretty soon, and a few other things in the works. So we'll see how it goes. I like making that kind of content. It's way more labor intensive, but I don't know. The end, it's worth it, and that's the personal satisfaction. Instead of counting views or anything like that, it's like you look at it and you say, "That's awesome. I put this out. Maybe I helped them and brought them some new customers." But I don't know. That kind of payoff is totally worth it to me.
Yeah, you also have a new project going on where you're also building a new studio in your house, right? Because you had to move rooms.
Yeah, so my wife and I are expecting any day now our second and final child. So we have a boy on the way, and I used to use the spare bedroom upstairs as my little studio. And once we knew he was coming, it was time to move out. So I actually have a very big and open attic, which has, big, 10-foot ceilings, and it's about 50 by 30. It's a huge space, and it's totally empty. There's nothing up there. So I said, all right, then that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take over this space up here. And I really think that through that area, I really hope to see the next evolution in what I'm going to be making, because I have a few ideas of having an area where, I can maybe have some, fellow YouTubers over, or other people. If people don't want me to necessarily come to them, they can come to me, and I'll have an area where we could sit down and maybe do a live stream or something like that, and have it tailor made. It's really, really difficult, as you know. I mean, I was watching as you were making some of your stuff there, John. With sound diffusion and trying to figure out how to make something appealing that you want to go and hang out in, and it feels natural to be there, but also conducive to making a video with good lighting and good sound. It's quite a project, but I'm looking forward to getting into it as soon as I finish the boys' room and the whole second floor there. It's like one construction project after another.
Yeah, these kids, man, I feel you. So we like to lead a little segment of rapid fire questions. So we didn't give you any prompting before this, but these are like 1 or 2 word answers. We'll just fire a couple at you. Sound good?
Sounds good.
All right. Oxfords or Brogues?
Oxfords.
Morning shower or evening shower?
Well, it used to be in the evening because I was dirty, but now that I'm in the office, it's in the morning.
Oh, now you're a white collar guy.
Now a white collar guy.
Your favorite Bond actor?
Sean Connery.
Okay. Cardio or lifting?
Well, lifting all the way. I really got to get my cardio in check, though.
Yeah, yes you do. Chinos, jeans, or trousers?
Jeans.
All right. And what is the last book that you read?
I use Audible now, so can I count that as the same thing?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay, fantastic. The last one I read was the Ray Dalio book. I think it's called, what is it called? Principles. It's called Principles. So Ray Dalio is, if you don't know, he's the CEO of Bridgewater, which is here in Connecticut. One of the largest investment firms out there. I think he's always in Forbes, the most influential people, richest people, whatever. And he's getting to the point now where he realizes he's in his 70s. He wants to pass on some of his knowledge, and it's a textbook on how to live a very effective life. Sometimes it could be a little dry, but it's an excellent book.
I definitely count Audible as a source for that, and I actually have Principles on my on my wish list, and so looking forward to that one too, because I've heard him on a few podcasts, and I think sounds like a very sharp guy.
Yeah, I picked it up based on listening to him on Tim Ferriss's show, and it was I was like, I gotta check that out.
Yeah, effective marketing podcast. Look at that. Well, great. So I'd love to hear that story. I'm looking forward to seeing you at your new series. Looking forward to the new studio, and I think we might get something going on over in New York soon. I know you'll head down there for specific events, but really excited to see. I know sounds like you have some cool ideas on how you can really move forward with the channel, and maybe you can give some sneak peeks behind the scenes and come back on the Buttoned Up podcast.
Yeah, anytime. You know, and that goes for New York or the podcast, whatever you've got.
Great. Thank you, Carl. Check out Carl on is your Instagram's changed to Carl Murawski, or at least YouTube as the primary place?
It's still New England Style Consulting. Changing Instagram isn't nearly as easy as changing YouTube, so
kind of funny. So check out Carl's site, and we will be talking to you very soon. Carl, thanks for coming on the Button Up podcast.
Thanks a lot, guys. My pleasure.
Thank you for listening to the Buttoned Up podcast, a collaboration between John Shanahan of The Cavalier and Brock McGough of Modest Man, and we will see you next week.